The afternoon sun cast long shadows through the grand entrance of the Meridian Palace Hotel as Sophia Chen pushed through the revolving doors. Her shoulders slumped slightly under the weight of her backpack, and dark circles rimmed her eyes after the 14-hour flight from Singapore. She hadn't bothered changing out of her comfortable travel clothes, worn jeans, a simple t-shirt, and a light cardigan, prioritizing comfort over appearance for the long journey. The hotel lobby sparkled with polished marble floors that reflected the crystal chandeliers hanging above. Well-dressed guests mingled in plush seating areas, while attentive staff glided around with silver trays of champagne. Sophia took a deep breath, absorbing the familiar scent of fresh flowers and expensive perfume that filled the air. Despite growing up with wealth, she'd always felt uncomfortable with the attention it brought. Sophia dragged her small suitcase toward the reception desk where a woman with immaculate blonde hair pulled into a tight bun sat typing at a computer. The name tag pinned to her perfectly pressed suit jacket read, "Valerie Winters, head receptionist." "Excuse me," Sophia said softly. "I'd like to check in, please." Valerie's fingers paused over the keyboard. She looked up, her gaze slowly traveling from Sophia's messy ponytail down to her worn sneakers. Her lips pressed into a thin line as she straightened in her chair. "Check-in begins at 3 o'clock, she stated flatly, her voice crisp with practiced professionalism that barely masked her disdain. "It's only 1:30. "I understand," Sophia replied, trying to keep her voice steady despite her exhaustion. "But I've just finished a very long flight and I was hoping there might be a room available early." "I wouldn't mind paying an additional fee." Valerie's eyebrows arched slightly. "I'm afraid that won't be possible. We're extremely busy today." She gestured vaguely around the quiet lobby. "You'll have to wait like everyone else." Sophia glanced around, noticing only a handful of other guests. "Of course. Could you at least check if my room might be ready? My reservation is under Chen, Sophia Chen." With a barely concealed sigh, Valerie tapped at her keyboard with manicured nails. Chen, yes. I see your reservation." Her tone suggested she'd found something distasteful. "No, nothing is ready yet. As I said, check-in is at 3. "I see. Thank you anyway." Sophia stepped aside as another guest approached the desk, a middle-aged man in an expensive suit. "Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to the Meridian Palace," Valerie chirped, her entire demeanor transforming. Her smile reached her eyes as she leaned forward attentively. "How may I assist you today?" "I was hoping to check in early," the man said, sliding a platinum credit card across the counter. "Had a morning flight and I'd really like to freshen up before my meeting." "Of course, Mr. Thompson. Let me see what we can do for you." Valerie's fingers danced across the keyboard. "You're in luck. We have your executive suite ready right now. Would you like assistance with your luggage?" Sophia stood frozen, watching the exchange with a mixture of disbelief and resignation. This wasn't the first time she'd been judged by her appearance, but the blatant double standard still stung. "Thank you so much," the businessman said, accepting a key card. "The service here is always exceptional. We aim to please our valued guests." Valerie replied with a practiced smile before shooting a pointed glance at Sophia. The message was clear. Sophia wasn't considered a valued guest. Sophia retreated to a quiet corner of the lobby, sinking into a velvet armchair. She pulled out her phone, scrolling mindlessly through emails while fighting to keep her eyes open. The jet lag was hitting hard, making her head pound. All she wanted was a shower and a soft bed. Over the next hour, Sophia observed Valerie's interactions with various guests. A pattern quickly emerged. Well-dressed visitors received warm smiles and exceptional service, often with early check-ins arranged just for them. Meanwhile, guests in casual attire or those who spoke with accents were given the bare minimum of courtesy. A young family with 2 small children approached the desk. The parents looked tired, the children restless after what was clearly a long journey. Sophia watched as Valerie informed them that no, they couldn't check in early, and no, there wasn't a place they could freshen up while waiting. The mother's shoulders slumped as she guided her disappointed children to a seating area. 20 minutes later, an elegantly dressed couple sauntered in, designer luggage in tow. Before they could even finish their request, Valerie was assuring them their suite was ready despite the early hour. The injustice of it made Sophia's chest tighten. She'd experienced privilege her entire life. Her father had built his hotel empire from nothing, teaching her that every guest deserved respect regardless of appearance or status. These lessons had shaped her own approach to business, and watching Valerie's behavior felt like witnessing everything her father stood against. At precisely 3 o'clock, Sophia returned to the reception desk. Valerie was engrossed in conversation with a bellhop, laughing at something he'd said. She made Sophia wait for nearly 5 minutes before acknowledging her presence with a cool glance. "Yes? It's 3 o'clock, Sophia said quietly. "I'd like to check in now, please." "Name?" Valerie asked, despite having gone through this information barely 2 hours ago. "Chen. Sophia Chen." Valerie typed with exaggerated slowness, her eyes narrowing at the screen. "You've booked a deluxe suite, is that correct?" "Yes, that's right." Valerie frowned at her computer. "I'm showing that all our deluxe suites are occupied or under maintenance." Sophia tilted her head. "That's strange. I confirmed my reservation just yesterday." "These things happen," Valerie replied with artificial sympathy. "We can offer you a standard room instead. On the 4th floor." She named a price that was only marginally lower than what Sophia had already paid for the suite. Too exhausted to argue, Sophia nodded. "Fine. Will you be paying with credit card?" Sophia handed over her black card, the kind that typically elicited special treatment. Valerie took it between 2 fingers as if handling something unpleasant, swiped it and returned it without comment. "Room 412. Elevator is to your left. Breakfast is served from 6 to 10. Checkout is at noon." She slid a keycard across the counter with the barest minimum of information, then immediately turned to help the next guest with a bright, "How can I make your stay extraordinary today?" Sophia picked up her suitcase and headed toward the elevator. As the doors closed behind her, she leaned against the wall and closed her eyes, exhaling slowly. The 4th floor was known to be the least desirable in most hotels, usually facing air conditioning units or with poor views. Sure enough, room 412 overlooked a concrete wall and the dumpsters. The room itself was clean but basic, nothing like the luxury suite she'd booked. Sophia dropped her suitcase by the door and sank onto the bed, too tired to even call the front desk to complain. She pulled out her phone and opened a note-taking app. With careful attention to detail, she documented everything she'd observed at check-in, from Valerie's selective courtesy to the room downgrade. Her father had always emphasized the importance of first-hand experience, of understanding how customers were treated when they weren't recognized. As she typed, Sophia's determination grew. What had started as a routine quality assessment was revealing deeper issues with the hotel's culture. This wasn't just about one rude receptionist, it reflected systemic problems that needed addressing. Tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow she would continue her observations, gathering evidence of everything that needed to change. For now, though, she needed sleep. Sophia set her phone on the nightstand and curled up on top of the covers, not even bothering to change her clothes. Her last thought before drifting off was of Valerie's face, and how it might look when she discovered exactly who she'd been treating with such contempt. Sophia woke to the sound of a vacuum cleaner rumbling in the hallway. She blinked at the unfamiliar ceiling, momentarily confused before remembering where she was. The digital clock by the bed read 7:30 a.m. Despite the uncomfortable mattress and the constant hum of the ice machine next door, she'd slept for almost 16 hours straight. She sat up slowly, her body still heavy with jet lag. Sunlight filtered through thin curtains that did little to block the morning glare. The room looked even more disappointing in daylight. Scuffed furniture, a tiny bathroom with weak water pressure, and walls thin enough to hear her neighbor's television. This was definitely not the luxury suite she'd booked. After a quick shower, Sophia dressed in simple black pants and a navy blouse, casual but neat. She pulled her hair into a low ponytail and applied minimal makeup. Part of her wanted to dress up, to give Valerie no reason to look down on her, but she reminded herself of her purpose here. She wasn't just any guest. She was here to experience the hotel as an average customer would. Her stomach growled. The breakfast room would be open, and she needed coffee desperately. Sophia grabbed her room key and notebook, then headed downstairs. The breakfast area buzzed with early risers, business travelers typing on laptops between bites of toast, families planning their day's activities, couples lingering over coffee. Sophia found a small table in the corner and settled in to observe. A cheerful waiter approached other tables, offering fresh coffee and explaining the breakfast options. When he noticed Sophia, his smile dimmed slightly. He glanced toward the reception desk where Valerie stood talking to a colleague, then back at Sophia. With visible reluctance, he made his way to her table. "Coffee?" he asked, his friendly tone now replaced with something more businesslike. "Yes, please," Sophia replied. "And could I see a menu?" "It's a buffet." He gestured toward the food display without making eye contact. "Help yourself." He walked away without filling her cup. Sophia watched him immediately return to his friendly demeanor at the next table, chatting easily with the guests and making recommendations. So it wasn't just Valerie then. The attitude had spread to other staff members. Sophia rose and headed to the buffet, filling a plate with eggs and fruit. As she reached for a pastry, she felt someone watching her. Valerie stood by the entrance, arms crossed, whispering to the maitre d' while nodding in Sophia's direction. The maitre d' frowned, then approached. "Excuse me, miss," he said in a lowered voice. "This breakfast is for guests with the premium package. Standard rooms have continental breakfast only." He pointed to a sad-looking table with a few muffins and a coffee urn in the corner. Sophia blinked in surprise. "I wasn't told that when I checked in. It's hotel policy." His tone suggested she should have known better. "The full buffet is an additional $30 per day." "I see." Sophia placed her barely touched plate on a nearby table. "I booked a deluxe suite originally, which would have included the full breakfast. But I was downgraded without explanation." The maitre d' shifted uncomfortably. "You'll need to discuss that with reception. I just enforced the dining rules." From across the room, Valerie watched with barely concealed satisfaction as Sophia retreated to the continental breakfast table. Sophia poured herself a cup of lukewarm coffee and took a stale muffin, making notes in her book while she ate. After breakfast, Sophia decided to explore the hotel facilities. According to the brochure in her room, the Meridian Palace boasted a rooftop pool, spa, fitness center, and business lounge. Perfect for her assessment, she started with the pool. The elevator required a room key to access the rooftop level. Sophia inserted her card, but the light flashed red. She tried again with the same result. A hotel employee passing by noticed her struggle. "Can I help you?" "My key isn't working for the pool level," Sophia explained. The young man took her key and examined it. "Ah, you're in a standard room. Rooftop access is for premium guests only. You can use the indoor pool on the second floor." "The indoor pool that's closed for renovation?" Sophia asked, pointing to the sign posted near the elevator. The employee had the grace to look embarrassed. "Oh, right. Sorry about that." Next, Sophia tried the business center. Again, her key card was rejected. A sign on the door read, "Executive suite guests and premium members only." The pattern continued at the spa, where the receptionist informed her that appointments were fully booked despite the empty waiting room, and at the fitness center, where her key card once again failed to grant access. By mid-afternoon, Sophia had compiled a substantial list of premium services that were supposedly included in her original booking, but now unavailable due to her room downgrade. At each turn, staff members had been polite but distant, clearly taking cues from somewhere about how to treat her. Frustrated and curious to see how far this treatment would extend, Sophia approached the concierge desk. A young man named Thomas looked up as she approached. "How can I help you?" he asked, his tone professionally neutral. "I'd like recommendations for dinner tonight," Sophia said. "Somewhere nice but not too formal." Thomas nodded and pulled out a map. "There's a food court about 3 blocks east," he said, circling an area with his pen. "Several budget-friendly options there." Sophia nodded, keeping her face neutral. "I was actually hoping for something a bit more special. Maybe one of the restaurants here in the hotel?" Thomas's expression flickered with uncertainty. "The hotel restaurants are quite exclusive. There's a dress code and reservations are usually required weeks in advance." "Could you check if there's availability tonight?" "Just for one person?" "Of course." Thomas picked up the phone and dialed an internal number. "Hi, May. I have a guest inquiring about dinner tonight." He glanced at Sophia. "Yes, just one person." He listened for a moment, then his eyebrows rose slightly. "I see. Yes, I'll let her know. Thanks." He hung up and offered Sophia an apologetic smile that didn't reach his eyes. "I'm sorry, they're fully booked tonight." "That's disappointing," Sophia said, glancing toward the restaurant entrance where she could clearly see several empty tables. "Perhaps tomorrow night?" "Fully booked for the week, I'm afraid," Thomas replied smoothly. "Again, I recommend the food court. Or there's room service, though the menu is limited for standard rooms. Sophia thanked him and walked away, adding this interaction to her growing list of notes. She decided to test one more service, the hotel's complimentary shuttle to downtown. The shuttle driver was loading luggage for an elderly couple when Sophia approached. "Excuse me, when is the next shuttle to downtown?" The driver barely looked at her. 15 minutes. But it's full. Sophia glanced at the empty 12-passenger van. "It looks empty to me." The driver sighed heavily. "Listen, miss. This shuttle is for priority guests. You can take a taxi." "And how do you know I'm not a priority guest?" Sophia challenged, her patience finally wearing thin. The driver looked uncomfortable. "Management's orders. Certain room types get priority service, I see. And who exactly gives these orders?" The driver hesitated, then nodded toward the lobby. "Head receptionist makes the call on guest classifications." "Look, I'm just doing my job." Sophia softened her tone. "I understand. Thank you for being honest." As she walked away, pieces began falling into place. Valerie wasn't just being rude. She was systematically ensuring that Sophia received the worst possible service at every turn. The question was why. Simple snobbery based on appearance or something more? Back in her room, Sophia ordered the simplest item from room service, a club sandwich. The menu noted a 30-minute delivery time. Nearly 2 hours later, a sullen server knocked on her door with a cold sandwich and a mumbled non-apology about kitchen delays. Sophia accepted the food without complaint, tipped the server generously, and closed the door. She added deliberate room service delay to her growing list, then snapped a photo of the unappetizing meal. The sun was setting when Sophia's phone rang. The screen displayed her father's name. She answered immediately. "Dad?" "Sophia, my girl. How's the undercover work going?" Her father's warm voice brought the first genuine smile to her face since she'd arrived. "Enlightening," she replied carefully. "I've learned quite a lot about how this place is actually run." "That bad, huh?" Her father chuckled. "Remember, this is why we do these assessments ourselves. Reports and statistics only tell half the story." "I know. And believe me, there's quite a story here." Sophia gazed out the window at the darkening sky. "When are you arriving?" "Change of plans. I'll be there tomorrow afternoon instead of the day after." The board meeting was rescheduled. Sophia felt a flutter of anticipation. "Tomorrow? That's perfect timing. Should I be worried about what you found?" Her father's tone was light, but she could hear the genuine concern. "Let's just say I've identified some areas for improvement." Sophia flipped through her notebook. "Significant improvement. Well, that's why we bought the place. Fresh eyes, fresh approach." He paused. "Are you being treated well at least?" Sophia laughed softly. "That's a conversation for tomorrow, Dad. In person." After saying goodbye, Sophia sat on the edge of the bed contemplating her next move. Tomorrow, everything would change, but tonight she had one more test to conduct. She picked up the room phone and dialed the front desk. "Front desk. Valerie speaking. How may I assist you?" "Hello," Sophia said calmly. "This is room 412. I'd like to speak with the manager, please." There was a pause. "The manager is unavailable. Is there something I can help you with?" "When will they be available?" "I'm not sure. Is there a problem with your room?" Valerie's tone made it clear she considered any complaint an inconvenience. "Several, actually, but I'd prefer to discuss them with management. As head receptionist, I'm authorized to handle guest concerns." Valerie's voice had taken on an edge of impatience. "However, if you insist on speaking with the manager, you can leave a message and they'll contact you if they deem it necessary." Sophia smiled to herself. "I see. In that case, please tell the manager that Sophia Chen in room 412 would like to discuss the pattern of discriminatory service I've experienced since check-in. I'll expect a call tomorrow morning." The line went silent for a moment. "I'll pass along the message," Valerie finally said, her tone noticeably cooler. "Thank you. Have a good evening." Sophia hung up and added one final note to her book. Tomorrow would be very interesting indeed. Sophia woke early the next morning, her mind already racing with plans for the day ahead. The clock showed 6:15 a.m., perfect timing to observe the morning shift change and breakfast service before most guests were awake. She dressed carefully in dark jeans and a simple blouse, adding a delicate jade pendant her grandmother had given her, her one concession to her actual status. Her father had always taught her that wealth shouldn't define a person's worth, but sometimes a small reminder of who you were helped steady your resolve. The hallway was quiet as she made her way to the elevator. A housekeeper pushed a cart nearby, looking exhausted even though her shift had just begun. The woman gave Sophia a tentative smile, which Sophia warmly returned. "Good morning," Sophia said. The housekeeper looked surprised at being acknowledged. "Morning, miss. Early start today?" "Yes, couldn't sleep." "I'm Sophia." "May," the woman replied, then glanced around nervously as if worried about being caught chatting with a guest. "If you're heading to breakfast, try the cranberry muffins. I snuck one yesterday. They're the best thing in the continental section." Sophia laughed. "Thanks for the tip. I'll definitely try one." This small, genuine interaction lifted Sophia's spirits as she continued to the lobby. It confirmed what she'd suspected. The problem wasn't with all the staff, just with the culture created by certain key people. The lobby was nearly empty at this hour. Behind the reception desk, a young man was receiving instructions from the night manager. Valerie was nowhere to be seen, which meant Sophia had about an hour before the head receptionist started her shift at 7:30. Perfect opportunity for some unfiltered conversations. Sophia headed to the breakfast room, where a few early risers sat with newspapers and coffee. She took a seat at the counter where a sleepy-looking server was arranging pastries. "Morning," Sophia greeted him. "Those look delicious." The server glanced up with a distracted smile that became more genuine when he realized Valerie wasn't around to monitor his behavior. "They're fresh from the bakery down the street. Chef insists on local suppliers." "That's nice to hear. I'm Sophia, by the way." She extended her hand. "Diego," he replied, shaking it. "Coffee, please. And one of those cranberry muffins I've heard so much about." As Diego poured her coffee, Sophia casually asked, "Have you worked here long?" "About 2 years." He set the muffin on a plate. "It was great at first. Good benefits, decent schedule, but not anymore." Diego hesitated, glancing toward the door. "It's changed since the new management team took over 6 months ago. Used to be more about guest satisfaction. Now it's all about rankings and classifications." "Classifications?" He lowered his voice. "Yeah, you know. VIP guests get the red carpet, everyone else gets... Well, less. They track everything in this point system based on room type, frequent stays, how much you spend. It's all in the computer." "And who decides these rankings?" Sophia asked, though she already suspected the answer. "That would be our lovely head receptionist." Diego's tone made clear his opinion of Valerie. "She implemented the whole system. Between us, I think she's trying to impress the corporate office before the new owner visits." Sophia nearly choked on her coffee. "New owner?" "Yeah, some billionaire hotel magnate bought the place. James Chen. Nobody's met him yet, but rumor is he's visiting soon to decide who stays and who goes." Sophia hid her smile behind her coffee cup. "Sounds stressful. Tell me about it." "Half the staff is terrified, the other half is kissing up to management." Diego shook his head. "Personally, I just try to treat people decent, you know? My mom raised me better than to judge folks by their room type." "Your mom sounds wise," Sophia said warmly. "So what happens to guests who don't rank high enough in this system?" Diego shifted uncomfortably. "Let's just say they don't get the full Meridian Palace experience. Limited access, slower service, less desirable rooms. Like being put in a room next to the ice machine when you've booked a suite?" Sophia asked innocently. Diego winced. "You too, huh? Sorry about that. Not my call. I know. Don't worry about it." They chatted a while longer until Diego's manager appeared, giving him a stern look for spending too much time with a single guest. Sophia thanked him for the coffee and moved to a table in the corner with her notebook. Over the next hour, she observed the breakfast service, noting how staff behavior changed when supervisors were watching versus when they weren't. Most of the employees seemed naturally inclined to be helpful and friendly, but their warmth dimmed considerably when management was present. At exactly 7:30, Valerie swept into the breakfast room, clipboard in hand. She inspected the buffet with narrowed eyes, made a few notes, then sharply corrected a server's placement of the fruit display. The easy atmosphere immediately tensed as staff straightened their posture and avoided eye contact. Valerie spotted Sophia in the corner and frowned. She approached with clipped steps. "Miss Chen," she said coolly, "I see you're enjoying our continental breakfast." "It's lovely," Sophia replied. "Especially the cranberry muffins." Valerie's gaze dropped to Sophia's notebook. "Making notes about our service?" Just some observations. I received your message about speaking with management. Valerie's tone was dismissive. The manager is very busy preparing for an important visit, but I've been authorized to address any legitimate concerns. Sophia closed her notebook calmly. When exactly is this important visit happening? That's confidential information. Valerie straightened her already perfect posture. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have actual work to attend to. As Valerie walked away, Sophia checked her watch. Her father's flight would land at 2 p.m., which meant he'd likely arrive at the hotel around 3:30. Just over 8 hours until everything changed. She spent the morning continuing her observations, visiting different areas of the hotel, and chatting with staff when possible. In the gift shop, she met a friendly cashier named Jun who'd worked at the hotel for 15 years. It used to be about making guests feel special, June told her while ringing up the bottle of water Sophia had purchased as an excuse to talk. Now it's all spreadsheets and metrics. Last month, they cut our staff appreciation events to save costs. That's disappointing, Sophia said. Happy staff usually means happy guests. Exactly. Jun's eyes lit up. That's what the old owner always said. Mr. Blackwood understood hospitality. He'd walk through every day, knew all our names, asked about our families. And the new management doesn't do that? Jun shook her head. They're too busy impressing each other. Between us, most of us are hoping this new owner will clean house. Start fresh, Sophia smiled. That would be nice, wouldn't it? After leaving the gift shop, Sophia found a quiet corner of the lobby and called her father for an update. Just landed, James Chen said when he answered. How's our little investigation going? Educational, Sophia replied. I've identified some significant issues with the service culture. It seems to stem from a classification system implemented by the head receptionist. Her father sighed. Not surprising. The quarterly report showed a troubling trend in guest satisfaction scores. That's why I wanted eyes on the ground before making changes. Well, my eyes have seen plenty. The good news is that most of the staff seem naturally inclined toward good service. They're just working in a toxic system. That's something we can fix, her father said confidently. See you soon, sweetheart. Around noon, Sophia returned to her room to freshen up and organize her notes. The cleaning staff had obviously rushed through. The bed was hastily made, the towels were damp, and the complimentary toiletries hadn't been replaced. Another small slight that added to the pattern. She was reviewing her findings when a knock came at her door. Opening it, she found Thomas, the concierge she'd spoken with yesterday, looking uncomfortable. Ms. Chen, the manager would like to see you. Sophia raised an eyebrow. I thought the manager was too busy. Thomas shifted his weight. There's been a situation. Ms. Winters reviewed your complaints and feels they should be addressed immediately. How thoughtful of her. Lead the way. Thomas escorted her to an office on the mezzanine level. The nameplate on the door read Patricia Huang, Hotel Manager. Inside, a stern-looking woman sat behind a desk with Valerie standing beside her, arms crossed defensively. Ms. Chen, I'm Patricia Huang. The manager did not stand or offer her hand. I understand you've been expressing concerns about our service. That's right. Sophia remained standing, though no one had offered her a seat. Ms. Winters has explained the situation. It seems there was a misunderstanding about your reservation. Patricia's tone made clear whose side she was on. While we regret any inconvenience, our records show you were appropriately accommodated based on availability. Valerie smirked slightly, clearly believing she'd won. I see, Sophia said calmly. And does appropriate accommodation include denying access to facilities included in my original booking? Or instructing staff to provide substandard service? Patricia's eyes narrowed. That's a serious accusation. Do you have any proof? I've documented every interaction since my arrival. Sophia opened her notebook. Including staff admissions about your guest classification system. Valerie's smirk faltered. You've been interrogating our employees? Just having friendly conversations. People tend to be honest when they're treated with respect. Sophia met Valerie's gaze steadily, something this hotel seems to have forgotten. Patricia cleared her throat. While we value all feedback, Ms. Chen, I think you're overreacting to standard hotel procedures. Perhaps your expectations are simply unrealistic. My expectations are that a hotel charging premium rates should provide premium service to all guests, not just those who fit a certain profile. Sophia closed her notebook. But we can discuss this further when my father arrives. Your father? Patricia asked, suddenly wary. Yes, James Chen. He's quite interested in how this hotel is being managed. The color drained from both women's faces. James Chen. Valerie's voice had risen an octave. The James Chen? You know another billionaire hotel magnate by that name? Sophia asked mildly. Patricia stood abruptly. There must be some mistake. Mr. Chen isn't scheduled to visit until next week. Plans change. He'll be here around 3:30. Sophia checked her watch. Just a few hours now. I suggest you use that time to consider how you'll explain your guest classification system to him. The atmosphere in the room had completely transformed. Patricia was now looking at Sophia with horrified recognition. You're Sophia Chen, the daughter. That's right. Sophia allowed herself a small smile, the one you put next to the ice machine. Valerie had gone completely still, her face a mask of dawning panic. But your reservation didn't indicate. That was rather the point, Sophia interrupted. My father believes in experiencing hotels as regular guests do. It's been illuminating. Patricia shot Valerie a look that could have melted steel. Ms. Chen, I assure you this is not how we intended to operate. Perhaps we could move you to the presidential suite immediately? And comp your entire stay? That won't be necessary. Sophia moved toward the door. I'll stay right where I am until my father arrives. It's important he sees exactly what I've experienced. As she reached for the doorknob, Sophia turned back. Oh, and Ms. Winters? You might want to revisit your philosophy about which guests deserve respect. In my experience, it's usually the ones you least expect who have the most influence. With that, Sophia left the office, closing the door on the stunned silence behind her. Through the frosted glass, she could hear the muffled sounds of an argument erupting. For the first time since her arrival, Sophia felt a genuine smile spread across her face. The real changes were still to come, but for now it felt good to finally be seen. The hotel transformed in the hours following Sophia's revelation. Staff who had ignored her suddenly appeared with offers of assistance. Housekeeping revisited her room, replacing the barely touched amenities with luxury products and fresh flowers. The room service menu mysteriously expanded to include premium options previously unavailable to her. Sophia observed it all with quiet amusement, politely declining most offers. She spent the afternoon in the lobby, watching the frantic preparations for her father's arrival. Maintenance staff hurriedly touched up paint and replaced burnt-out light bulbs. The florist delivered fresh arrangements. Someone was even polishing the brass fixtures on the revolving door. Patricia Huang, the hotel manager, had changed into a more formal suit and was drilling staff on proper greeting protocols. Valerie was nowhere to be seen. A young bellhop approached Sophia's seat with a silver tray. Complimentary champagne, Ms. Chen? No, thank you, Sophia replied. But I would love some water. Right away. The bellhop practically sprinted to fulfill this simple request. Sophia sighed. This wasn't the point of her exercise at all. She wanted consistent quality service for all guests, not special treatment because of who her father was. At her side, her phone buzzed with a text from her father. 15 minutes away. Bringing company. Love you, company. That was unexpected. Sophia straightened in her seat, curious about this new development. Her father rarely brought associates to his hotel inspections. Around her, the lobby hummed with nervous energy. Staff kept glancing at the entrance, then at their watches. Patricia paced near the front desk, periodically snapping at employees to adjust their posture or fix their uniforms. At exactly 3:30, the revolving doors spun and James Chen walked into the Meridian Palace Hotel. Despite his billions, he dressed modestly in a well-tailored but understated navy suit. At 58, his hair had gone silver at the temples, but his stride was energetic and his eyes sharp as they took in every detail of the lobby. Behind him followed a tall woman in her early 60s with a notebook and tablet. Sophia recognized her immediately as Beatrice Wong, her father's longtime assistant and trusted advisor. Before anyone could approach them, Sophia crossed the lobby. Dad! James's serious expression melted into a warm smile as he embraced his daughter. There's my girl. He held her at arm's length, examining her face. You look tired. Not sleeping well? The ice machine next door keeps me company all night, Sophia replied with a pointed look. Her father's eyebrows rose, But before he could respond, Patricia Huang rushed forward, hand extended. Mr. Chen, what an honor to welcome you to the Meridian Palace. I'm Patricia Huang, hotel manager. We weren't expecting you until next week, but we're absolutely delighted you're here. James shook her hand briefly. Ms. Huang, I've heard quite a bit about you from my daughter. Patricia's smile faltered slightly. All good things, I hope? That remains to be seen. James's tone was pleasant but firm. I understand there have been some interesting management choices during your tenure. Patricia paled. Perhaps we could discuss this in my office. I've prepared a comprehensive presentation on our operations. In due time, James replied. First, I'd like a tour. The authentic guest experience, not the sanitized version you've prepared for today. Beatrice stepped forward. I've cleared your schedule until 6 p.m., James. The investors can wait. Excellent. James turned to his daughter. Sophia, would you do the honors? Show us what you've experienced these past few days. Sophia nodded, hiding a smile at Patricia's obvious discomfort. Let's start with my room, shall we? As they moved toward the elevator, a flash of blonde hair caught Sophia's attention. Valerie had appeared at the front desk, looking uncharacteristically disheveled. Their eyes met briefly before Valerie quickly looked away, busying herself with papers. Is that her? James asked quietly, following his daughter's gaze. Yes. Valerie Winters, head receptionist and architect of the guest classification system. Her father's expression hardened. I see. The elevator ride to the 4th floor was silent, with Patricia shifting nervously beside them. When they reached room 412, Sophia unlocked the door with a flourish. Welcome to my standard accommodation, she announced. Originally booked as a deluxe suite, downgraded without explanation or discount. James and Beatrice entered the room, taking in the scuffed furniture, thin towels, and view of the dumpsters. The ice machine rumbled to life in the hallway as if on cue. Charming, Beatrice murmured, making notes on her tablet. Patricia hovered in the doorway. There must have been some mistake with the booking system. No mistake, Sophia interrupted. I confirmed with 3 different staff members that this was a deliberate downgrade, based on my appearance and perceived status. She handed her father her notebook. I've documented everything. James flipped through the pages, his frown deepening. Guest classification system? Limited amenity access? Deliberately delayed service? He looked up at Patricia. Is this how you believe a luxury hotel should operate? Patricia seemed to shrink under his gaze. Mr. Chen, I assure you, these practices were implemented to maximize efficiency and profitability. Our premium guests expect certain standards. All guests expect certain standards when they pay for a luxury hotel, James corrected her. The Meridian Palace charges 5-star prices across all room categories. The service should match regardless of what a guest is wearing or how much luggage they're carrying. He turned to Beatrice. Make a note. Full staff retraining on service standards. No exceptions. Already noted, Beatrice replied, typing rapidly. They continued the tour, with Sophia pointing out each area where she'd been denied access or received subpar service. At the rooftop pool, her keycard still failed to work, providing a perfect live demonstration of the discriminatory policies. The pool attendant looked mortified. I'm so sorry, Ms. Chen. Let me override that for you. No need, James said. This is exactly what we needed to see. By the time they returned to the lobby, a small crowd of staff had gathered, whispering anxiously among themselves. Valerie stood rigidly at the reception desk, her face a mask of professional neutrality that couldn't quite hide her fear. James approached her directly. Ms. Winters, I presume? Valerie straightened. Yes, sir. Valerie Winters, head of reception. It's an honor to meet you, is it? James asked mildly. I wonder, would you have felt the same honor if I had arrived dressed in jeans and a t-shirt looking tired from travel? Valerie's cheeks flushed. Of course, Mr. Chen, we value all our guests. Do you? James opened Sophia's notebook. According to my daughter's observations, you personally implemented a system that ranks guests based on appearance and perceived wealth, then provides service accordingly. He looked up. Would you care to explain that philosophy? The lobby had gone completely silent. Even guests had paused to watch the confrontation. Valerie swallowed hard. The classification system was designed to optimize resources and ensure our most valuable customers receive priority. And who decides which customers are most valuable? James pressed. Well, there are metrics, spending patterns, frequency of visits, room category. My daughter booked your highest room category, James pointed out. Yet she was downgraded and treated poorly based on what? Her casual clothes? Her lack of designer luggage? Valerie had no answer. James turned to address the gathered staff. Let me be clear about my vision for this hotel. Every guest who walks through those doors deserves the same level of respect and service. Whether they're wearing jeans or Armani, whether they've booked a standard room or the presidential suite. He gestured to Sophia. My daughter arrived here deliberately dressed down, without announcing her connection to me, because we believe the true measure of a luxury hotel is how it treats all its guests, not just the visibly wealthy ones. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Several staff members nodded in agreement. Moving forward, there will be changes, James continued. The guest classification system ends today. Access to amenities will be standardized across all room categories. And most importantly, staff will be evaluated based on their consistency of service to all guests. He turned back to Valerie, his expression stern but not unkind. Ms. Winters, please clear your schedule for tomorrow morning. We'll be discussing your future with the hotel then. Valerie's face went completely white. Yes, sir. Patricia stepped forward hesitantly. Mr. Chen, as the manager, I take full responsibility for these policies. If someone must be held accountable, everyone is accountable for the culture they create or enable, James replied. We'll discuss your position tomorrow as well. Beatrice cleared her throat. James, it's nearly 5. You have that call with Tokyo at 5:30. James nodded. Thank you for the reminder. He turned to his daughter. Sophia, would you like to move to a suite now? Sophia considered the question, then smiled. Actually, I think I'll stay in 412 for one more night, to make sure any changes we implement are actually working. Her father laughed. Always thorough. That's my girl. He addressed the staff once more. My daughter will remain in her current room tonight. I expect she'll receive exactly the same service as any guest in the presidential suite would. Consider it your first test. As the crowd dispersed, Sophia caught sight of several staff members she'd spoken with earlier. Diego from breakfast service, May, the housekeeper, and Jun from the gift shop. They were exchanging small smiles, looking cautiously hopeful about the promised changes. James put his arm around his daughter's shoulders. You've done good work here, Sophia. Exactly what I needed to see. I learned from the best, she replied. So what happens now? Now we fix it. James's eyes gleamed with determination. Starting with a staff meeting tomorrow, I want to hear directly from the people who make this place run, not just management. Valerie watched them from behind the reception desk. Her perfect posture finally slumped in defeat. When she noticed Sophia looking her way, she quickly averted her eyes. What about her? Sophia asked quietly. James sighed. That depends on whether she can learn from this. Some people can change when given the chance. Others can't. And if she can't, then she'll find employment elsewhere. Her father's tone was matter of fact. This isn't about punishment, Sophia. It's about building the right team for the culture we want to create. As they walked toward the hotel restaurant for an early dinner, staff members straightened and smiled nervously. But Sophia noticed something else too. A sense of relief on many faces, as if a heavy weight had been lifted. The revolution had begun. By tomorrow, the Meridian Palace would start its transformation, not just in policies but in spirit. And Sophia would be there to see it happen, one small kindness at a time. The next morning dawned bright and clear, sunlight streaming through the thin curtains of room 412. For the first time since her arrival, Sophia woke to complete silence, no ice machine, no noisy neighbors. She smiled, wondering if someone had intentionally emptied the rooms around hers. The digital clock showed 6:45 a.m. The staff meeting her father had called was set for 8 p.m., giving her plenty of time to get ready. As she sat up, Sophia noticed something had been slipped under her door during the night. It was a handwritten note on hotel stationery. Miss Chen, I wanted to apologize for how you were treated during your stay. What happened was inexcusable. I've worked at this hotel for 15 years and have always believed in treating people with respect, regardless of their status. I should have spoken up sooner when I saw what was happening. The note was signed simply, Jun from the gift shop. Sophia smiled, tucking the note into her notebook. This was exactly why her father's approach to hotel management worked. Because there were always good people in the system who just needed support to do the right thing. After a quick shower, Sophia dressed more professionally today in dark slacks and a blue silk blouse. The staff meeting would mark her transition from undercover guest to her actual role as the new director of guest experience for the Chen Hotel Group. When she opened her door to head downstairs, Sophia found a breakfast tray waiting outside her room, fresh coffee, fruit, pastries, and a small vase with a single rose. Another note accompanied it, "Thought you might like breakfast before the meeting. The kitchen made these pastries fresh this morning. Diego." Touched by the gesture, Sophia brought the tray inside and enjoyed a quick breakfast. These spontaneous acts of kindness confirmed what she'd suspected all along. Most of the staff wanted to provide excellent service. They'd just been operating under a broken system. At 7:45, Sophia made her way downstairs. The atmosphere in the hotel had changed overnight. Staff members who had previously ignored her now smiled warmly, not with the nervous deference of yesterday after her identity was revealed, but with genuine warmth. The conference room was already filling with employees when Sophia arrived. Her father stood at the front, deep in conversation with Beatrice, while staff members took seats according to their departments. In the back row, Sophia spotted Valerie sitting alone, her usual confidence replaced by visible anxiety. Patricia Huang stood near the door, greeting employees as they entered. When she saw Sophia, she straightened. "Good morning, Ms. Chen. We've reserved a seat for you at the front." "Thank you, but I'll sit with the staff," Sophia replied, choosing an empty chair beside May, the housekeeper she'd met on her first morning. May looked surprised but pleased. "Is this seat taken?" Sophia asked. "No, please." May smiled shyly. "I didn't expect you to remember me." "Of course I remember you. You gave me the best tip about those cranberry muffins." At exactly 8, James Chen called the meeting to order. The room fell silent as he stepped to the front. "Good morning, everyone. For those I haven't met yet, I'm James Chen, the new owner of the Meridian Palace Hotel." He gestured to Sophia. "And this is my daughter, Sophia Chen, who will be joining our team as the Director of Guest Experience." Murmurs rippled through the crowd as Sophia nodded in acknowledgement. "I want to thank you all for coming in early today. What we're discussing is important enough to warrant the extra time." James walked slowly across the front of the room, making eye contact with various staff members. "For the past 3 days, my daughter has been staying at this hotel as a regular guest. Her mission was to experience our service exactly as any other visitor would." He paused. What she found was troubling. A 2-tiered service system where guests received dramatically different treatment based on superficial factors like appearance or perceived wealth. Staff members exchanged glances. Some looked embarrassed, others nodded in agreement. "This isn't about placing blame," James continued. "It's about understanding how we got here and how we fix it. So before I share our plans moving forward, I want to hear from you. What obstacles prevent you from providing excellent service to every guest?" For a moment, no one spoke. Then Diego from the breakfast service raised his hand. "The classification system," he said simply. "We're told to prioritize VIP guests even if it means making others wait." "And who determines VIP status?" James asked. Several eyes darted toward Valerie, who stared straight ahead. "It's in the computer," another voice offered. "When we check in guests, there's a rating system based on room type, appearance, spending habits." James nodded. "What else?" Gradually, more staff members began to speak up. They described quotas for upselling room types, penalties for spending too much time with standard guests, and incentives tied to extracting maximum revenue rather than ensuring maximum satisfaction. "We used to have more staff," Jun from the gift shop added. "When the previous management took over, they cut our numbers but expected the same level of service." "So you're spread too thin," James noted, "forcing you to make choices about who receives attention." Heads nodded throughout the room. After nearly an hour of discussion, James returned to the front. "Thank you for your honesty. Now let me be clear about the changes we're implementing, effective immediately." He began outlining his vision: the elimination of the guest classification system, standardized amenity access across all room types, and a return to adequate staffing levels. Most significantly, employee evaluations would now be based on consistent service quality rather than revenue metrics. "We're not just in the room rental business," James explained. "We're in the business of creating experiences, Every guest who walks through our doors, regardless of what they're wearing or how much they're spending, deserves our best." As he spoke, Sophia watched the room transform. Slumped shoulders straightened. Worried expressions gave way to cautious optimism. Even Patricia Huang, who had entered the meeting expecting to be fired, was taking notes with renewed purpose. Only Valerie remained unchanged, her face a mask of professional neutrality that couldn't quite hide her discomfort. When James finished outlining the new policies, he addressed the elephant in the room. "Now, regarding leadership, Ms. Huang will remain as hotel manager with a 6-month probationary period to implement these changes." Patricia looked up in surprise. "Thank you, Mr. Chen, I won't let you down." James nodded. As for the position of head receptionist, the room went silent. All eyes turned to Valerie, who visibly braced herself. "Ms. Winters, please stand," James requested. Valerie rose slowly, her usual perfect posture now stiff with tension. "The policies you implemented caused real harm to our guests and created a toxic environment for our staff," James said firmly but not unkindly. "However, I believe in second chances. You have 2 options." Valerie's eyes widened slightly. "Option 1. You can remain with the hotel but not as head receptionist. Instead, you'll spend 3 months rotating through different departments. Housekeeping, kitchen, maintenance, learning every aspect of hotel operations from the ground up. After that, if your performance reviews are positive, we'll discuss a permanent position." He paused to let this sink in. "Option 2. We part ways today with a standard severance package." The silence in the room was absolute as everyone waited for Valerie's response. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, to everyone's surprise, she took a deep breath and asked, "Why would you offer me another chance at all?" It was Sophia who answered, "Because running a hotel isn't about being perfect. It's about how you respond when things go wrong. We're offering you the chance to show who you really are when given the opportunity to change." Valerie looked at her, really looked at her, perhaps for the first time. "I would like to stay," she said quietly. "I have a lot to learn," James nodded. "Your rotation begins tomorrow. You'll start in housekeeping with May as your supervisor." May straightened in her chair, looking both surprised and pleased at this unexpected promotion. As the meeting concluded, staff members gathered in small groups discussing the changes with animated expressions. Sophia watched as Valerie approached May awkwardly, extending her hand in a gesture that must have cost her considerable pride. James joined his daughter, following her gaze. "Think she'll make it?" he asked quietly. "I'm not sure," Sophia admitted, "but I'm glad we're giving her the chance. That was your idea, you know." Her father smiled proudly. "I was ready to let her go." Sometimes people just need to see things from a different perspective. Sophia thought about her own journey, from privileged hotel heiress to undercover guest. "I learned that myself this week." 6 months later, Sophia stood in the grand lobby of the Meridian Palace, watching guests check in at the reception desk. The hotel hummed with positive energy. Staff moved with purpose. Guests were greeted warmly regardless of their appearance, and the overall atmosphere was one of genuine hospitality. The guest satisfaction scores had risen dramatically. Reviews praised the consistent service and accessible amenities. Most importantly, employee turnover had dropped to its lowest point in years. "Ms. Chen," a familiar voice called from across the lobby. Sophia turned to see Valerie approaching, dressed not in her former designer suits but in the hotel's standard uniform. The past 6 months had changed her. She seemed more relaxed, more authentic. "Just wanted to let you know we're fully booked this weekend, but every room is ready, including the 10 upgrades you approved for the family reunion group." Valerie handed her a tablet with the day's report. "Thank you." "How's the training going with the new receptionist?" Sophia asked. "Really well. I emphasize that every guest deserves our best, regardless of room type." Valerie smiled slightly. "I might have been a bit insistent about it." Sophia laughed. "Nothing wrong with being passionate about good service." After Valerie returned to her duties, Sophia continued her daily walk through the hotel. She stopped to chat with housekeeping staff, kitchen workers, and maintenance crews, a practice her father had always followed, and she had now made her own. In the gift shop, Jun waved her over. "Look what just arrived." She proudly displayed new locally made products from small businesses in the community, another initiative Sophia had implemented. "They look wonderful," Sophia said, examining a handcrafted soap. How are they selling? Flying off the shelves. Guests love taking home something unique. As Sophia continued to the restaurant, she spotted a young woman entering the hotel. She wore jeans and a simple t-shirt, looking tired from travel, much as Sophia herself had appeared 6 months ago. Sophia paused to watch as the woman approached the reception desk, where a new employee greeted her warmly. No judgment, no dismissal, just genuine welcome. Checking in? Let me help you with that right away. Would you like some water after your journey? The simple interaction brought a smile to Sophia's face. This was what success looked like. Not the bottom line on a financial report, but the consistent dignity with which every guest was treated. Her phone buzzed with a text from her father. How's our hotel doing today? Sophia typed back, better than ever. Turns out you can judge a hotel by how it treats every guest, not just the special ones. As she tucked her phone away, Sophia took one more look around the transformed space. The Meridian Palace had always been beautiful, but now it had something more valuable than marble floors and crystal chandeliers. It had heart.